I was told, "We just don't have space for you and the kids this time." Then my brother posted a family pic, with 2 extra guests I didn't even know. I quietly took back our custom gifts, left without a word. The next morning, I uploaded a video of what we'd planned for them, tagged every one of them. And then my inbox exploded. At least I ruined his birthday in the end. That's the only thing that makes this bearable, knowing Ethan got burned after what he did. He deserved every second of it. I showed up at his party with my kids and a bag of gifts I'd spent weeks planning. A custom leather travel set, a framed collage from our childhood, cards my kids made, and the centerpiece, a black stainless steel watch engraved with "To the best brother, S." It was expensive. More than I could comfortably afford, but I didn't care. I wanted to surprise him. When I knocked on his door, he looked annoyed. Like we were the last people he wanted to see. Then he said it, "We just don't have room for you and the kids this time." I thought he was joking. But no. He said things got crowded and they had to make cuts. Like it was some exclusive event. I could hear the party inside, people talking, laughing, music blaring. I didn't argue. I didn't want to make a scene in front of my kids. So I left the bag of gifts by his door and walked back to the car with 2 confused kids asking why we weren't going inside. I told them the house was too full. My daughter looked like she wanted to cry. That night, I saw the photo on Facebook. The big family-only dinner table. My parents, cousins, friends, and 2 strangers I didn't even recognize. Sitting right next to Ethan. No room for us, but plenty of space for randoms. I didn't say anything online. I didn't comment. But I wasn't going to just sit with it either. The next morning, I drove back to his place. Didn't text, didn't warn him. The door wasn't locked. There was still party trash everywhere. They were all sitting around the dining table, including those strangers, still laughing like it was some after party. I walked in, grabbed the gift bag from the hallway where I'd left it, and walked right back out. Nobody noticed me. But when I got to the car and checked the bag, I realized the watch was missing. That's when I snapped. I drove home, filmed a video showing everything I'd put together. The gifts, the handmade cards, everything. I explained why my kids and I weren't at the party, and exactly what was missing from the bag. I tagged Ethan. I tagged my parents. I tagged everyone who was there. By morning, my inbox was chaos. Family blowing up my phone, cousins messaging me asking if it was true, and then Ethan, furious, because he didn't know about the engraving on the watch. And now he couldn't wear it without everyone knowing he stole it. Ethan messaged me that morning like his hands were on fire. He wasn't even trying to hide his panic. "You seriously took the gifts back? You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You think you're better than me?" I didn't answer. I just watched the messages pile up while I made breakfast for the kids. I had nothing to say to him that wasn't already in the video. By noon, my mom called. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail saying I'd made too big a deal out of nothing, and that Ethan wanted to talk it out. As if there was some version of this where he wasn't completely in the wrong. But the best part. A cousin sent me a screenshot from Ethan's Facebook. Apparently, he had posted a cropped photo of the watch on his wrist the night before. Tried to pass it off like a birthday gift from the crew. But now people were asking him where the engraving came from. That's when he really lost it. He called me, I didn't answer, then started leaving these pathetic voicemails demanding I give the watch back because it was already his. I still had the rest of the gifts, minus the watch. But I wasn't done. A few days later, I texted my dad. I told him I wanted the watch back, otherwise I'd assume Ethan stole it. My dad didn't say much, just that he'd talk to him. Of course, nothing happened. Ethan was stubborn, selfish, and never learned to back down. But then one night, I got a text from my mom. Asterisk, can you please just give him the watch? He says he'll pay you for it. Don't escalate this. Asterisk. I laughed when I read that. He wanted to buy back a gift I'd already bought for him? He didn't get it. It was never about the watch. It was about being told to leave like I was some stranger. I replied to my mom. Not happening. That night, I made a second video. I didn't tag anyone, but I knew the family would see it. I laid it all out, the strangers at the party, the missing watch, the fact that he was wearing it in photos like he earned it. I ended the video by saying, asterisk, some things aren't for sale. Some people aren't worth the effort. Asterisk. Ethan unfriended me the next day. But I knew this wasn't over. 2 weeks went by without a word from Ethan, but then my dad called out of nowhere. He usually avoids this kind of drama, so when he calls, I know someone put him up to it. He asked if I could just let the whole thing go. I told him flat out, not until I got the watch back. That was the line for me. He sighed and said Ethan didn't have it anymore. I asked what that meant, but my dad got vague, said Ethan was figuring it out. Which told me everything I needed to know. Ethan sold it or gave it to someone else. Probably one of those randoms at his party. I didn't say much. Just hung up and decided I was done playing nice. I posted again, but this time in a private family group chat that had a few cousins, an aunt, and my parents. I posted a photo of the original receipt for the watch, showing the price and the engraving request. I made sure they all saw it. Then I ended it with one sentence. This is the last time I'm asking before I escalate legally. That got things moving. A cousin texted me privately saying Ethan was panicking because he didn't have the watch anymore. Apparently, one of the strangers, some woman he'd been trying to impress, left the party with it. Of course he'd let some woman he barely knew walk out with it. Then, days later, Ethan texted me. Name your price. I didn't answer. He tried again. Asterisk fine. Backslash $400. That's more than enough. Asterisk. I ignored it. He tried once more. Asterisk if you don't want it, just say so. I'll buy it off you and that's it. Asterisk. I let him sweat. Then, when he stopped texting, I listed the remaining gifts on Marketplace. Everything except the watch, obviously. The leather travel set sold first. The photo collage went to a distant cousin who felt bad and offered to buy it just so it stayed in the family. But the best part. A week later, I got a message from a woman I didn't know. She sent a photo of the watch. She said she'd ended up with it by accident, didn't know it was custom, and she'd sell it to me if I wanted it back. I wasn't about to let her profit, but I also wasn't letting Ethan win. So yeah, I paid her for it. More than I wanted to. But the second it was back in my hands, I had plans. I thought about keeping the watch just to spite him. But honestly, I didn't want anything that reminded me of Ethan. The whole situation made me sick every time I looked at it. So I sold it. Found a collector online who offered a decent price. He didn't care about the engraving. Said he'd polish it off. The only catch. The payment platform took a cut, and I lost about 15% of the money. I wasn't thrilled about it, but whatever, it was still better than seeing that watch on Ethan's wrist in some smug photo. A few days after the sale, word got around that I'd sold it. I didn't announce it, but my cousin let it slip in a group chat. That's when Ethan lost his mind. He texted me non-stop, calling me selfish, petty, greedy. Said I'd robbed him of his birthday gift and then cashed out, like it was a business deal. I ignored every message. Then my mom called again. She said Ethan was telling people I stole from him, that I'd gone behind his back and flipped his gift for profit. She didn't take a side, she never does, but she ended it with, maybe you could have just given it back to avoid this mess. I didn't respond. I was done explaining myself. Then the smear campaign started. Ethan started telling family that I'd made the whole thing up, that I'd refused to come to the party, that I was bitter about not being in the inner circle, and that I'd taken the watch before the party even started. My aunt believed him. A few cousins did too. I'd get passive-aggressive comments on my posts, little jabs like some people love drama more than family and not everything's about you. I wanted to clear it up, but then I thought, no, let him talk. Let them all talk. I still had the transaction receipt from the sale, the video proof of the gifts, the texts he sent begging for the watch back. If anyone wanted to know the truth, it was all there. But I wasn't giving him or anyone else that satisfaction. Because this wasn't just about the watch anymore. It was about him showing his true face in front of everyone. I didn't hear from Ethan for a while after that. At least not directly. But I saw what he was doing. He started showing up to every family event I skipped, birthday dinners, cookouts, even baby showers. He'd sit there telling anyone who'd listen that I'd betrayed the family, that I'd humiliated him publicly over a misunderstanding. He made sure to mention the watch every time, spinning it like I'd stolen from his own birthday table. I heard about this from my cousins. One of them even said, asterisk he's obsessed, Scarlett. He brings it up to people who don't even know you. Asterisk. It was pathetic. The best part? My parents refused to get involved anymore. My mom finally told him to stop calling her about it. And my dad? He told me straight up, I warned him not to cross you. I could have gone to these family events and cleared my name, but I didn't care anymore. I was done explaining myself to people who wanted a good story more than the truth. What I didn't expect, though, was how bitter Ethan got. At one dinner, I wasn't there obviously. He told everyone I'd scammed him, that I plotted the whole thing just to sell the gifts and make money. I only know this because my cousin Riley told me. She said even then, some people weren't buying his version. Especially after she reminded them of the Facebook post where he was wearing the watch like it was his. Still, he kept pushing his narrative. That's when I realized, He wasn't mad about the gifts. He was mad I'd made him look stupid in front of the family. He couldn't stand that I'd taken control of the story. That I'd walked into his house, took my things, and left him sitting there with nothing but his ego. He hated that I didn't beg for a seat at his table. And the best part, he'll keep telling that story forever, twisting it every time, and it won't change a thing. I stopped replying to him. Stopped replying to anyone who asked about it. I was done. Eventually, the messages stopped. The calls, the cousin whispers, the guilt tripping, all of it just dried up. But I knew better. I knew Ethan wasn't done. Sure enough, months later, I ran into my aunt at a grocery store. She gave me this look like I was supposed to apologize just for existing. Then she said, asterisk, you know, Ethan really did love that watch. It meant a lot to him. Asterisk. I just smiled and moved on. That's when I knew, he was still talking about it. Still spinning it, still poisoning the well. I even got an email from an old family friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, asking if what they'd heard was true. If I'd set my brother up, to embarrass him publicly. It was funny to me. That they thought I was capable of such a long game, just to hurt Ethan. But the truth is, I didn't have to do anything. He did it all himself. I blocked him everywhere. Removed him from every social app. Told my parents not to mention him to me again. I cut off the cousins who played both sides. It's been quiet since then. I'm sure he's still badmouthing me at every family event, but I don't hear it anymore. And honestly, I'm fine with that. Because the real win was never the watch or the money. It was knowing that every time he tells that story, he has to admit, even if just to himself, that I walked away. And that I'll never come back.